Ooh.
See, now we're going to get all of our alerts from the people that followed. Like, that's fragilities. I mean, thanks if you're actually following. Shout out to you guys, but
if you're a bot,
then thanks again. You help our followers number go up.
I was going to say, I guess it doesn't really matter.
It's a double thanks either way.
Yeah.
But welcome to another episode of Just Browsing. Today we're going to do a NFL preview. And I'm actually pretty excited for this because it's not a fantasy football preview. It's just like, let's talk about the NFL. I wrote down, I did all my homework on what I think's going to happen this season.
I did zero homework, so you're going to run with this one, and I'm just going to...
I mean, it's more like kind of what I want to have happen. And again, It's the NFL. If a quarterback gets hurt, it could fuck up everything. Like Patrick Mahomes goes down, they don't have the team to support Chad Haney or whoever their backup quarterback is.
Yeah.
So, just like the Saints, they lost Drew Brees, and, you got Winston and Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill,
could not think of his first name. And, they just weren't the same team. So this is going to be an NFL preview, and we're just actually going to jump straight into the recording and get the podcast part going. So here we go.
I feel like I should probably scoot over. Scoot over.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Just Browsing. It is no longer our 1-year anniversary, but football season is upon us. So we are going to be diving into our NFL predictions on, maybe what we're going to hopefully see this season and just talk some football. No fantasy, but just football. Just NFL football.
Yeah, no fantasy. We kind of beat that dead horse last year during the season.
Yes.
So I think we're going to keep that mainly amongst ourselves and
we might do one
this year,
or two episodes max on that.
Yeah. Well, and it'll probably just end up being like an NFL discussion podcast, and then by the way, here's what the standings are in the fantasy league or whatever.
Right. It'll probably be like a season wrap up and be like, did the NFL season, we could use this as the bar and be like, did it meet the bar of what we established?
Yeah.
Back on 8/11 of 2021, precisely at 7:18 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Well, so when we were talking about the fact that we wanted to just talk about football today, I'll be honest, I didn't do any fucking research or homework.
Not
or
surprised.
So you got like lots written down here, so I might just let you go, and then I'll just kind of pipe in here and there. I don't know where you want to start, but I was just going to say off the top, like we were mentioning last time when I think it was for the anniversary podcast when we were just kind of rambling. I was talking about how excited I am for not only NFL football but for college football as well, and we got those both coming up really quick. So college football first games are going to be like end of this month, like 28th or something. I think
and then the NFL, they already played the Hall of Fame game,
right?
Which
and they're
is
playing
the first preseason, and they start
first week of preseason
tomorrow.
Is
I think
tomorrow,
it's tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday are like the first round of games.
Yeah, so it's almost here. Obviously camps are in full swing. We're going to try and watch. I believe the Falcons play the Titans on Friday evening.
Fox, I think.
I was trying to figure out where it's going to be, where I can watch it, but we're going to try and watch, see if Sam's playing and stuff. So
I'm sure he will, because the first games are usually, second, third, fourth string or whatever, whatever string you want to call people at that point. They're trying to get them as many reps in a game type situation against a different team.
Yeah.
And I actually saw it because, I like to follow Sam. I want him to make every roster possible. And I saw he was listed as second as the right guard, so that's pretty cool.
So it's kind of funny. I was having a conversation with my parents like last weekend. We went over there for dinner, and my dad was kind of saying the same thing that I was saying. I think my mom does a better job of keeping in touch with Sam and calling him like every couple of days and chit-chatting with him or whatever.
Doing the mom type thing.
But my dad and I are both kind of the same. And I think the reason we're like this is I get the impression from Sam that he doesn't really want to talk about it all that much. Because if you call him or you FaceTime him and you ask him how football's going, he'll be very like
short.
Oh, that's good, And I think I understand what it is. It's I'm not gonna get my expectations too high this time around because if you do that, then you get burned.
I've been here before.
I've been here before, exactly. So I think, and I totally get that because that's kind of the way my brain works as well. So I talked to him like last week. He said things were going good. I was going to mention, just because you brought up he was listed at second string. He said he was getting reps with the ones in practice and stuff like that. So that's always an encouraging sign.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, don't want to read too much into anything like that during camp, but other than that, his report was basically it's very hot and very humid in Atlanta.
I mean, I get where he comes from too, where he doesn't want to talk about it because he lives the life, and we're not professional athletes. So when you meet a professional athlete or a professional athlete, you're kind of like, I want to live the life that you like. I would love to be in the NFL.
Yeah,
I don't have the body to do anything in the NFL.
Well,
maybe be a water boy or a towel boy, but I might pull a hamstring here and there. So I don't know if I'm cut out.
Well, I think it also kind of goes into like what you were saying, but also, I mean, how much do you really want to talk about your job when you're not doing it? You know what I mean? Like if people are outside of work are asking you what you do for a living, you're probably going to give them a really brief explanation and then leave it at that, unless they're like, for whatever reason, super interested in it and want to ask you a bunch of questions and figure out what it is exactly you do. But outside of work, you're kind of like, I want to leave that there, and I don't really want to talk about it outside of work. Kind of thing.
I can see like where he comes from too, because he's like, I just want to talk about other things than football, because I already think about football 24/7. When I'm away from it, I need an escape from it, because I'm the same way. I don't want to talk about work all the time. I want people to be like, I was at a hockey game when I was younger, and these two dudes were sitting in front of us talking the nerdiest things about computers, and I'm sitting there and I want to be like, shut up, let me enjoy the game, because I'm hearing everything you're saying, and it's taking away from me enjoying this hockey experience. We're at a hockey game. We're not at a fucking tech convention. We're at an IT lab. Like, just chill. And they just kept talking about it. I'm like, that's not fun. Like, get me away from work. Let me have my escapes and just move on. So I can get how he's just like, why don't you ask me how my day is?
Yeah.
Or how the weather is?
Well, and it's funny because a lot of times when I do talk to him and he's quote unquote at work, for camp or whatever he's doing for football, a lot of it just ends up being we're talking about current events or some movie we watched or a TV show or literally anything. Like anything other than football.
Right.
Yeah, and I get it. Trust me, I get it because, I played high school and college football, and I know that it gets very draining, and that's all you do all day long every day for days and weeks and months on end. So when you get a chance to hang out with your family and friends outside of football, the last thing you want to do is be like, oh yeah, let me talk about this thing that I just spent the last 8 hours doing today.
It's just hard. Like being, I wouldn't say I'm like extremely close friends with Sam, but I'm good. We're good friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've known him forever, so,
right?
Yeah.
But it's like when I see him, I'd want to ask him. I'd be like, so what do you think? Because I want to get that inside knowledge because I love football. But I'm also like, I'm not a fan. Like, I don't want to come across as a fan. I want to be his friend, which means I should be an escape from him having to be like explaining football to me and like how things are going down in Atlanta and how things are, how he's playing. Like, I can get that because when I was a little kid going to football games, dude, you're screaming at people. Like, I remember being like, my dad always told us, hey, be polite about it if you want so-and-so's autograph, say Mr. and then their last name. Yeah. So, he has a story about how I said something and he came over to sign an autograph for me and my brother. He was big like you and Sam when he was younger, even though he was like 11 at the time, which is a young age. The guy goes, no, he's too old. And my dad goes, no, he's literally 11 years old. And he goes, oh, okay, so he signed it. But he goes, you guys are so polite, like I would have come over here anyways just because you were saying that. And now people are just like, like Tom Brady walks by, they're like, Brady, Brady,
start shouting at him. Yeah.
And that would just be so annoying to me. I'd be like if I was a pro athlete and I was someone that was at least known and respected, and there was a bunch of little kids that were like, hey, can you come? I would take the time out of my day. But as soon as people started being rude and pushy, I'd be like, listen, I'll stay here and sign every autograph, but as soon as you start doing this, I'm walking to my car.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this alone because I'm a person too. I understand I'm a role model to your kids or to these young adults. But as soon as the adults start acting like kids is when it's just like, you're ruining this.
Yeah.
That
whole, whatever it is, musicians, athletes, celebrities, actors, whatever, that whole thing has always been very weird to me, and I've never really known, especially, I guess my most experience would be at sporting events, because I've just been around sports longer than anything else, but that whole idea of like trying to go up and get an autograph has always felt really strange to me, especially like as a kid too. I never really knew like what to say, you know what I mean, or how.
I was always really shy. My brother was usually the one that would say stuff,
kind of like your dad was saying. If he's instructing you to say like, hey, ask him Mr. then his last name.
It's like, can I please have your autograph?
Or do you say like, hey Vaughn, if it's Von Miller, or like I just never really knew, because like. On one hand, you're like, oh, I don't know this person, so I feel like only people who know him should call him Vaughn.
Right.
But then again, saying Mr. Miller seems also a little too, like, formal and professional. I don't know. I never really knew how to, like, approach that whole thing.
It's different when you're, like, a little kid. Because when
I think
when you're a little
way
kid,
different,
when you're a little kid, if you go, Mr. Miller, he's going to be like, that's respectful. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to jump into politics real quick, but the little shits these days are not respectful to anybody. Not even their own parents.
Uh-oh, Matt's hopping on his soapbox again.
Here we go. No, but, if I was a pro athlete and someone was like, Mr. Ewan, I would go directly to them compared to someone being like, Matthew. I'd be like, no, fuck off.
Dude, I feel like that's actually, now that we're talking about this, that's actually secretly the best move ever to get autographs, is to have kids take them to the sporting games and then go, like, hand them a glove or a ball or whatever and be like, hey, that's Von Miller over there. Go see if you can get his autograph.
Go say Mr. Miller.
Go say Mr. Miller. Yeah,
autograph.
and then like this adorable 10-year-old comes up and he's like, oh, of course. And
then he's got like a pair of cleats with him that are signed and gloves and like a headband and also.
And then the dad's just over there like, yes.
Yeah. The dad gets home and shrines it.
Yeah, it's going in the man cave.
I thought that was mine.
He's like, nope.
No, you got the headband.
Yeah, you keep
that. That was way more valuable.
You keep the headband. I'm keeping the cleats and the ball.
No, but yeah, I'm happy for Sam.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
He might not be too pleased.
We're all cautiously optimistic and keeping our fingers crossed. So
yeah, I mean, hey, practice squad is just as good too. You got a job, right? It's a job.
Yeah, and you're still playing a game for a living and making a lot more money than I make. So
I was gonna say you make like 48 billion times more than we make in a year.
So could be worse.
You do sacrifice your body, I get it, but you also tear your knee. You go to surgery tomorrow. Yeah. I tear my knee, and it's like 14 years. And
right.
7.
Dude, I can't even get an appointment for a physical until October. So my work, you have to get like they give you this wellness credit thing if you get a physical once a year.
You have to check off like 4 boxes.
Yeah, and you have to fill out some sort of a survey or whatever. And if you do that, you get this discount per paycheck on your health insurance or whatever. So it's like definitely worth it to do, because over the course of the year, it's like $1,200 if you don't do that or whatever. So I called and everything. Well, you're supposed to get the physical done by like end of September. I can't even get a fucking physical at my doctor's office till like October. I was like, all right, well,
just come up with
that
like
doesn't
an emergency.
help me. I was like, they're like, well, I was like, because I called for my regular doctor, and they're like, he's booked. You can't get in until like October. I'm like, okay, well, what about any of the other doctors in the office? And they were like, same thing. I'm like, okay. So yeah, what you were saying is like, if you're a professional athlete, it's just like if you have any sort of problem, you just go in and it's like immediately you have the best health care in the world. Like,
or like
right
you're
now.
like me, I got to go to rehab, but I have to do it after I go to work. You're a pro athlete. You go to rehab while you're at work. Yeah. So it's the same exact thing.
You got some sort of an injury, like you show up to work and that's what you're doing.
Right. But anyways, jumping back to football.
Take us through your take us through your notes.
I'm gonna just say, we are both. I'll say I'm a diehard Broncos fan, and Zach is a Broncos fan.
Yeah, I'm a Broncos fan. I'm not necessarily diehard, but I'm a Broncos fan.
But it's not like he cheers for other teams in terms of he would rather have them be more successful.
Yeah, they're my team.
We both cheer for his brother to be successful because that's just what good people do.
Yeah.
So if this is more heavily sided towards the Broncos, now you understand why.
Well, if anyone who listened to our NFL recaps last year knows, they're expecting
Melvin Gordon,
because it's basically like we cover all of the NFL scores and the box scores, and then go. And now here's a 35-minute conversation on what happened in the Broncos game and how Matt hates Melvin Gordon.
Yes. So what I did was I went through each division and I ordered them in how I think that division's going to play out, and then I ranked them based on who I think is going to finish, first through sixth in the conference. And then I said who I think is going to be in the Super Bowl, who I think is going to be the MVP, who I think is a sleeper to sneak into the Super Bowl, and then what I would like to see, and then Defensive Player of the Years and Offensive Players of the Year.
Wow. All right. Well,
so
take it away, man.
I'm going to start in the AFC, and we're going to start in the North. Here, I'll scroll up so you can see.
I was going to say, I was going to glance at the conferences while you're going through these.
So we're going to start in the AFC. So you guys can gander it.
Well, there's a lot going on that screen there.
I don't know why.
It's like a screen within a screen within a screen.
Let me, All right, you know what? That's just not going to work, so. We're just going to go back to this one.
There we go. People can look it up.
Yeah. So I'm going to start in the AFC North, and I have the Ravens finishing first, followed by the Browns, then the Steelers, and then the Bengals. And I think this is a tough division. I don't know how Big Ben's going to come out this year.
I was going to say, as we're talking about this, and as I just heard you list those teams, I think that's my biggest question mark. But then Big Ben's, on one hand, he's been in the league like a million years. But then on the other hand, he's really consistent. He's consistently really good every year.
Right.
But
he's also consistently had very good offensive weapons.
Right.
He has Juju, but around that, I don't think it's that you have a rookie running back, and you don't really have the most depth at wide receiver or anything. Yeah. So I kind of I try and factor in all that, but they do have a really, really good defense.
Yeah.
And they're a good enough offense that they can maintain possession to keep it. They're going to win all the low scoring games.
Yeah. It seems like the Steelers have been for years now right there, but then not quite. Because, Ben Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls really early in his career, and then since then has not really been able to get back.
Well, and last year they were 12-0.
They're always like perennially a playoff team. They're just
no, they were 11-0.
They just can't seem to quite get over the hump for whatever. And granted, they play in a
it's a tough division.
Recently, the Ravens have been really strong. Browns have come on the last couple of years, and then they always seems to like in years past before Brady left, seem to always run into the Patriots at some point in the playoffs,
but and the Bengals are going to come in last out of that just because Joe Burrow's coming back from a torn ACL. I don't know if he's even going to be ready for week 1. I've heard that he is, but I'm kind of, it's a torn ACL. It is a quarterback position, so if his rehab went extremely well, I don't see any issues coming from it. But, again, knees aren't anything to joke about or play around with. So I have them finishing last, but it is a tough division. And the Browns, I think, could be the sleeper in that division. I don't know. Baker Mayfield, to me, is just way too inconsistent to put your money on and put all your eggs in one basket with him. So I have the Ravens with Lamar Jackson.
They just seem like I'm enjoying seeing the Browns not be like dead last in the NFL in the last couple of years. But I just think they, in the last couple of years, also seem to be very overhyped.
They're if you look at, I think they're the best team on paper overall.
Right.
But
and that's why
they're on the field, and it's just like, do you guys just run around at practice?
I feel like so. And Ty's dad jokes about this a lot, and because he's a big NFL guy, like that's his thing. As he follows.
We should have brought him on.
We should have.
Although we'd be here for like 15 hours.
It's not too late. We can still have him on at some point. His thing is always, during the off season when there's no football on, and First Take or Get Up or wherever has to have stuff to cover, right? Stuff to talk about for the NFL season. It's always the Cowboys are projected to be one of the best teams in the NFL and like be in the Super Bowl every fucking year. Every single year, yeah. And then they finish right at 500, or maybe a little bit below 500, or maybe a little bit above 500 every year. And that's been going on for a long time. I feel like recently the Browns are kind of like the new Cowboys, where it's like in the offseason, before any games have happened and we have any idea how good any of these teams are going to be, everyone is just like, oh my God, the Browns are amazing. They're going to win the Super Bowl. And you're like, yeah, they're like you said, on paper it looks really good. And then you got like, there's a lot of flash, like Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. There's a lot of flash there.
I use the Broncos as a perfect example.
They come out and they win games and they look pretty good, and then other weeks you're like, yikes,
they should have smoked this team.
Yeah, they did not look very good this weekend. So, like you said, it's just the inconsistency, and we'll see what that looks like this year. What is this? What year is this for Baker Mayfield? Is this like year 4?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. So maybe he's going to make a big step up this year. Who knows? He's got the talent.
He's got the talent, and he's got the talent around him to do it.
Yeah,
it's just, can they put it all together?
Right.
Which, I'm not a big fan of the Browns, so I really don't care if they're successful
me either.
or not.
It is just kind of fun watching them. It's nice to see, like we were talking about this with the NBA this year. It's nice to see new faces for the franchises, competing for the championship. So it's nice to see the Browns, instead of being,
Instead of
16.
And the Steelers are back to back to back to back.
Yeah, it's nice to see like some more competitive nature within that division.
Well, speaking of new, I'm going to jump to the East.
Okay.
I did never eat soggy waffles, if you can't tell.
Okay.
I have the Bills winning that one pretty easily, followed by the Patriots, because I think Cam Newton's going to feel more comfortable this year.
Dude, I really hope so.
No, fuck the Patriots.
Well, just for Cam Newton. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay,
finish your.
And then I have the Dolphins, and then rounding out the Jets. The Jets are rebuilding. They're going to have a rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of an unknown.
Yeah, so I think Bills definitely, that's a pretty obvious for finishing first in that division. It'll probably be between the Dolphins and the Patriots next, and then the Jets last. I was just going to say the reason why, and I'm not a Patriots fan either. I have enough of that.
With your father-in-law
in my
and
family
your
that I'm marrying
fiancé
into. But I am a Cam Newton fan, and I've always been a Cam Newton fan ever since he was at Auburn. So I was really excited when he signed with the Patriots last season.
Boy, was he terrible.
And I was expecting a lot from him, and wow, it just did not go very well. And I was actually shocked by that because I thought he was being overlooked by most of the league. That was my opinion going into last season. And then when the Patriots signed him for next to nothing, I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. He's going to slide in there right after Brady leaves, fit in with Belichick. If anyone can do something with that guy, it's Belichick. Yeah. And then I just don't know what the fuck happened last year. So we'll see this year. I don't know if he was still kind of, his whole thing the last few years where he hasn't looked like vintage Cam Newton has just been his injuries kind of catching up to him. He's been hurt quite a bit. And I don't know if there were some lingering injuries last year that played into that or what, but like he just did not look very good last year, and I was kind of shocked by that.
I mean, I'm like I said, going back to like when we were talking about the North, seeing new faces. It's nice to see the Bills jump back in there because I can't stand the Patriots.
Josh Allen is amazing.
Out of all the teams in the NFL that I hate the most, the Patriots are there. Out of all the players I hate the most, it's the ex-Patriot Tom Brady. I just hate him the most, and I respect what he does, but I don't like the guy.
Yeah.
Like, if he got hurt, I'd be like, oh, shucks, we don't get to watch Tom Brady this year. Shucks. But no, I'm glad the Bills are good. I like Josh Allen. I think the guy's a phenomenal quarterback. And they have Emmanuel Sanders now. So they got my boy.
I'm a big Emmanuel Sanders guy.
They got my boy over there that I love.
He put in some really good years for us here in Denver.
Yeah,
so
won a Super Bowl, so
yep.
Gotta love that guy. So, yeah, I got the Bills winning the East.
I can't say I can argue with you too much about. Would you start with the North and then the East?
The North and the East.
I can't. I agree with all those. Yeah.
So now I'm going to jump to the South, and this one, it's really between two teams, and I have them finishing 1-2. I have the Titans winning the division, followed by the Colts, the Texans, and the Jaguars. The Colts, it's all going to come down to if Carson Wentz can play, and if he can't, what do they do at quarterback?
What's the latest on that? I saw some headlines recently. I don't know what's going on exactly.
They were thinking he's going to be good by week 1. But he had foot surgery that they said is like a 3 to 6 week recovery. And
that was like real recently, right? He had this.
It was like a week or two ago, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I saw that and I was like, that seems kind of concerning. That it seemed like they were being a little optimistic about that, but I mean,
I think the Titans are too good of a team, anyways, and their offense got better with the addition of Julio Jones this year. So Tannehill now has multiple weapons, and then you have Derrick Henry in the backfield,
who's a monster.
If he can stay healthy, the dude's guaranteed like
he's
1,400 plus yards a season and like 20 touchdowns. So I have them winning with the Colts following in a decently close second. And then the Texans beating out the Jaguars. That one you could probably flip-flop. It's kind of all dependent, again, on quarterback play. You have a rookie with the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who people are rave about as the greatest quarterback of all time to ever play college football.
Kind of like the second coming, if you listen
and then you've got
football people talk.
Deshaun Watson, who – it's all about his legal troubles and everything. Right. He doesn't want to be in Houston. I know he wants to. According to what people have been saying, he wants to be here in Denver.
Yeah.
Which I'd love to have him if this whole legal thing blows over with nothing that comes of it. So it just comes down to quarterback play for them. But he played phenomenal for them last year, and they were like 4-12. So
yeah,
he just doesn't have a team around him.
He's another guy that I've been a huge fan of since college, and it's been kind of upsetting. I won't really go into the whole off the field stuff. A, because I don't want to talk about it, and B, I actually don't really know many of the details.
Yeah.
But on the field play wise, just him as a football player, he's a tremendous quarterback, and I've been a huge fan of his since he was at Clemson, and. I don't know. I think there's just, like you said, a big question mark there as to how that's going to look this year. And then Same thing with another Clemson guy, the most recent Clemson guy, Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville.
And they have a new head coach in Urban Meyer.
I don't know
how he's going to do that.
I totally forgot that Urban Meyer was the Jaguars coach until I read some article the other day about I forget now what it was. I want to tell the story, but I would do it in injustice by trying to go off the dome. But it was like some way he runs practice, and he took that from his days at Florida back when they won like 2 national championships while he was
Tebow.
there. Yeah, and now oddly enough, Tim Tebow is trying to be a tight end on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The dude is stacked.
I heard it seems like he put on a lot of weight and has gotten really like
jacked,
huge. Yeah, like very muscular.
Let's see if I can find a picture.
Which
of him,
he has the frame for it. And isn't it ironic? All these years later,
a fullback the whole time.
Yeah, all these years later, after all those people were telling him, "Hey, why don't you stop trying to play quarterback in the NFL and just play fullback or tight end? We think you're an NFL athlete. You're just not necessarily an NFL quarterback." And he was just like, "Nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it." Here he is, a few years later, after trying to play baseball.
Look at this.
And now he's like, "Okay, I'll play tight end now."
Look at this picture of him, and tell me that is not the quarterback that we had here in Denver.
Wow. Yeah,
he
has gotten much bigger.
Stacked in these. Look at this.
He's got the frame for it, dude. Like he's got a big frame.
He's got the football IQ. Let's be real. The dude's a genius when it comes to football.
Yeah.
So I wish him success. I like
me
Tim
too.
Tebow.
I've always liked Tim Tebow. I think some people he kind of rubs people the wrong way because he's just like the ultimate nice guy. You know what I mean?
He's a good Christian dude.
Yeah, he's all about being a good Christian dude and being like super nice all the time. And I think that just kind of rubs people the wrong way sometimes. But he's a super great competitor. He's honestly had one of the all-time greatest college football careers ever. He was
probably
such
the
a
greatest
blast.
College football
maybe
career
the
ever.
Greatest college football career. He was a blast to watch at Florida, and he. The last that I really watched a lot of him play was when he was the quarterback here in Denver, and man, oh man, those seasons watching him, like it was so stressful. It was so much anxiety,
but it was fun. Like it was Tebow time. Like he would.
Right. Because I'm sure we've mentioned this multiple times on the podcast before, but for anyone who has not heard it or who was not watching Broncos football when Tim Tebow was the quarterback, it basically always went like this. Like our offense looked horrible through about 3.5 quarters. We would be down by it would be within reasonable distance, couple touchdowns.
But it wasn't
maybe.
Tebow at starting quarterback right now. He wasn't playing quarterback.
And then he would somehow in the last 8 to 10 minutes of the game engineer this miraculous comeback, and we would win the game by a field goal or a last-second touchdown or something. And it was, like you said, very exciting, but also incredibly anxiety-inducing and stressful. So that was the last. And once he left Denver, where did he bounce around? He went to the Jets, didn't he?
I think he signed with New England.
New England for a time.
And I think that was it. And now he's with the Jaguars.
And then he was done with football, and then he was playing baseball, like minor league baseball. And then now here he is all the way back trying to be a tight end with the Jaguars again. So he's had a crazy career. Crazy last 10 years or so. And he was, speaking of college football and stuff like that, he was being a college football analyst and commentator and stuff. And I thought that was just going to be what he does. I mean, if it was me,
he was good. He was good.
He was good at it.
It was entertaining.
If it was me in his position, I would do that. You sit in a suit in air conditioning and
make
talk
millions.
football all day and make millions. It sounds like a great gig. So, but yeah, I mean, I wish him all the best. I like Urban Meyer, and I like Trevor Lawrence. I don't think I like him near as much as I liked Deshaun Watson. But
I'm the same.
We'll see. We'll see how he looks. I mean, I think it's going to be, and I think we've talked about this too, which we still need to do this as a podcast idea. I keep forgetting about it. Is come up with our list of the all-time Heisman Trophy winning guys who were busts in the NFL, and just do a whole episode on that. Anyway, write that down for later.
Greg Oden.
I think yes.
Wrong sport, but
wrong sport, but yes. I like where your head's at. I think with Trevor Lawrence, it's going to be the whole thing of, at least for me, and I think this is probably for a lot of people, did he look so good in college because he was playing on such a good team in a conference that was not the SEC? Or is he really just that good? And I think it's maybe a little bit of both, but I think once you get into the NFL, then you really get to start to see which one it is more of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, then you get, I'll just jump to the opposite side of that spectrum.
I'm putting that down in the notes.
You get Johnny Manziel, who everyone's the greatest quarterback of all time at the time.
Yeah.
A huge bust in the NFL, right? So, but he played in the SEC at A&M. He beat Alabama on some crazy plays. It's just only playing in the NFL will tell if you're going to be a good NFL quarterback. College can show if you have skills, But the NFL is a whole different breed of
it's a whole
players.
different animal.
Despite everyone's like, well, they all went and played in college, and I'm like, I get it, but you're at the highest of highest levels when it comes to this sport when you're in the NFL, and they've been mastering their craft for 5+ more years.
I don't think people realize, like there's that.
And they've grown into their bodies even more.
Yeah. I'm sure there's the actual stats that are out there, but, I think a lot of people have probably heard this, or at least people who grew up around football who played football. They always say it's like, what is it? Less than 5% of all high school football players go play Division I college football, or really any sort of college football. And then like 1% of those players make it into the NFL. And
then it's like a fraction of that percent actually are
good
on the rosters and play.
Yeah. So I don't think people really realize when you start thinking about that how truly elite the NFL is. I mean, I think people who understand football know that, but people who are just sort of casually fans of it.
I mean,
you
each
don't
NFL
realize
team has
that
a 53-man roster, and that's just active every day. Then they carry, I think it's a 13-man practice squad. Mm-hmm. So that's 66 people. I think the 13-man is new because they used to just be a 10-man.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with the old. So say it's 63. Multiply that by 32. That's how many players are in the NFL.
Right.
Now I think there's
from the entire country
from the entire world of professional
football.
Yeah. Then you look at college, and there's probably, let's see, the SEC I think has 10 or 12. Big Ten has 12, I believe. Pac-12 is 12. The Big 12, I think, has 10. That's what, 50-plus schools? They each could have 100 to 125
I was going to say the
roster.
In college can be 85 to 110 or something.
And that's just the major D1s. Then you still have, the MAC, the Conference USA.
You got D1 AA, you got D2,
D1
all
AA,
that.
D2, D3,
Yeah.
NAIA. Those are all stacked rosters in terms of how many people there are. But then you're limited into, what 63 times 32. Let's do some quick math.
I'll do it. Or unless you got it.
I got it. That's 2,016 players.
Yeah.
And you could have that much on 20 college teams.
Yeah.
So just think of that.
And just to go back to my point, it's just like, and I think this is why I kind of treat it, because we're both college football fans and NFL fans. I treat them very separately because, we can have our college football discussion of the all-time greats and all that kind of stuff. Those same guys, very few of them are actually on the list of the all-time NFL greats.
Yep.
So Tim Tebow is a perfect example. Had, like we just said, maybe the greatest college football career you can possibly have, and not really that great of an NFL player.
And then you have Tom Brady, who was a sixth-round draft pick out of Michigan.
You have the opposite.
He went to Michigan, Big Ten school, big school.
Yeah.
He was playing on a big stage every day. But sixth-round draft pick shows that he wasn't an elite talent in college.
Yes.
Which means he did what he needed to in college to succeed. Now you can argue that he is the greatest quarterback of all time.
Right.
Both, and people go, well, his stats aren't better than certain people's still, and I go,
but he's got
the dude's
7 rings.
48 years old, and I think he just signed a 3-year contract or whatever to play till he's 45 or whatever it is. He's probably, if he can stay healthy on the offense he has, which we can talk about them when we get to the NFC, he's probably going to pass every single quarterback category besides maybe single-season records.
Right.
But career records, he might establish numbers that, unless Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers plays till they're 45 or 50, no one might be able to beat.
Yeah, it's just
for at least in our lifetimes.
Yeah, it's the longevity of it and the level of play. I mean, shit, the guy won an MVP at 40 years old or 41 or something.
Now, I do have a lot of personal opinions about him and about his Super Bowl wins. And, you can say, well, he shouldn't have. And I agree that you can't say, well, it woulda, shoulda, coulda, because it didn't happen. But if certain teams didn't suck balls, he wouldn't have, I think, 3 of those rings. They should have never beat the Falcons.
Oh, in the
Super Bowl,
behind.
They should have never. No matter what NFL team was on the field, up 28-3 at half.
Yeah,
or in the third quarter.
Because I think it was a 25-point lead
in the fourth quarter.
and they came back and won in the second half.
The Falcons should have never blown that game.
But they did.
But they did, right? and Tom Brady led the comeback. You got to, like I said, give credit where credit's due. The credit's to the Falcons coaching staff for sucking ass. All right? The Seahawks have the ball on the 1 yard line.
Oh, yeah. This is a real sticking point for you.
You have beast mode in the backfield. The guy is guaranteed a yard every time he touches the ball. Let's go ahead and throw the ball. Interception on the goal line in the Super Bowl with less than 2 minutes left to seal the game.
That was a crazy one. I remember watching
Patriots win. Seahawks now guaranteed. They weren't guaranteed to score. But why the fuck are you throwing the ball from the 1 yard line when you have Marshawn Lynch in the backfield?
Yeah,
if anyone in the fucking football universe could explain this, and don't come to me like, well, the Patriots were expecting them to fucking run. And I go, I don't give a shit. It's 1 yard. Why are you throwing the ball? There's more that can go wrong in throwing the ball than running the ball. So that's another one.
Okay, continue.
Oh, what's the other one?
I was about to hop in, but you're like, and that was another one.
I had one in my head, but now I can't think about it.
You said there was 3.
Yeah.
We can move on, and you can think about it later.
Yeah, I'll try.
We've only gotten through 2 divisions, and we got real sidetracked.
We've gotten through 3.
Oh, we did?
We just haven't finished the AFC conference. So now we're to our Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah.
And in the Western
Saving the
Division.
best for last.
Some people out there might think that I have the Broncos winning the division. And some people are incorrect. Because I did this in a serious manner. So I have the Chiefs winning. Because, excuse me, as long as Patrick Mahomes is healthy, that team's... what are you going to do?
If they're anything like they've been the last 2 years, they're going to win the division.
I will say I do have the Broncos finishing second.
Over the Raiders?
Over the Chargers. The Chargers, yeah. I think the Chargers finished third, followed by the Raiders. Now, the Broncos have the easiest schedule in the NFL. The issue comes into playing the Chiefs twice.
Yep, there's that.
Now, since I follow everything with the Broncos, on paper, we could have the best defense on paper in history. This could be just as good as our defense that won
in 2015.
Super Bowl 50 in 2015. The issue is quarterback.
Yep, as always.
Do we have a quarterback? With our defense, we could put up 24 to 28 points a game, and I guarantee you we win 11 games. 11 games, maybe 12. Because it's a 17-game season, so we got a little buffer, you know what I mean? I think we could go 11-6 or 12-5 because our defense is good enough to stop teams from scoring as long as the offense can score 24 to 28 points.
It's a big if, though.
Right, because since Peyton Manning left, I think we're averaging like 18.7 points per game.
That sounds about right. That's pretty much like every
weekend I watch.
And
we lose every game by 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So if we average 24 to 28 points per game, we flip our fucking 5 and 412 into like 12 and 403. So
hey, do you remember that game last year? Was it against the Patriots where we literally scored 18 points entirely on field goals? Did not score a single touchdown.
And won the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was against the Patriots.
When you were talking about us averaging 18, that was the first game that popped in my mind.
We get like, to 18
we're not going to score a touchdown today? Is that what we're doing?
Or we're winning the game by 2 points, and our defense is doing good, and then they give up like a 40-yard play when we had them on like 3rd and 29. Because we're like, we got to be in prevent 98-yard touchdown. We're like, they don't even need 98 yards. And our defense is like 14 rows in the stands, and then all of a sudden they get in field goal range. Their field goal kicker kicks it, and it like doinks off 14 uprights, kills 6 cats in the rafters, and goes through, and we're like, great, we lost another game by 1 point. And then
it seems like
Fangio comes out and he goes, they gave it a good effort. And I go, I don't give a fuck.
Okay, all right, hang on. Finish the rankings, and then I want to ask you some Broncos questions.
Okay, so that's the end of the West. So I'll just run through how I think the entire AFC is going to stack up. And I can't remember if they expanded the playoffs in terms of teams, but I just did top 6. Chiefs at number 1, Bills at number 2, Titans at number 3, Ravens at number 4. Those are the division winners. I have the Browns coming in as the first wild card team, and I have the Broncos sneaking in as the second. And, of course, the Broncos is all pending quarterback play. If Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater can come in and they can manage the ball and, like I said, score 24 to 28 points a game, we're going to be in the wild card. We'll be in the wild card mix, and like I said, we have the easiest schedule, so there isn't a reason. We should start the season 3-0. Like, legit, we should start the
season. Who do we
3-0.
start off against? Do you have it up?
Where are you, Broncos? We start off against... So I'll go through their schedule. We are at the Giants, at the Jaguars, and then we get the Jets at home.
Yeah, that's
1, 2, 3 wins.
pretty nice.
Then we get the
nice
Ravens at home, which...
That'll be a tough game.
It'll be a tough game. Then we're at the Steelers, which...
Same with the Steelers.
We almost beat them last year with the backup quarterback. So, kind of iffy right now, but again, we won't know until we watch them actually play. Then we get the Raiders at home. I think we're better than the Raiders, so we should win. At the Browns, again, depends what kind of Browns show up.
Yeah.
Against the Washington football team, I think we beat them. Against the Cowboys, I think we beat them. Against the Eagles, I think we beat them. Chargers at home, I think we beat them. And then the Chiefs on the road, we lose. Lions at home, we beat them. Bengals at home, we beat them. Raiders away, I think the Raiders probably sneak that one. Chargers probably sneak the one on the road as well. And then the Chiefs will beat us at the very end of the season. So with that would put us at 12-5. Which I think would be
that'd be a welcome relief from the past
honestly, I will take
seasons,
a 9-8 season this year.
Yeah, if we're above 500, that's an improvement.
If we're pushing for a wild card spot, I will be happy. If we showed, if Drew Lock's our starting quarterback and he's showing great improvements, we're just still not over the hump. I mean, if he shows great improvements, we're 12-5. We're in the playoffs.
I think this is a big year for Drew Lock. If he does not show
Aaron Rodgers free agent.
Yeah, if he does not show very huge strides this year, I don't know how much longer he's.
If he even wins the quarterback job, so we'll see.
Right? Yeah, because what year is this going into for him? Third. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's potential there, but I haven't been very impressed so far.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the quarterback battle. I mean, I might have to skip your birthday party on Saturday to watch the game. So
it's at 2:30 in the afternoon or something. You can get a live stream going or something.
Just chilling
from the lake.
What's going on? Oh, the Broncos are in their first preseason game. It's preseason and big. Don't talk to me about preseason or regular season.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
It all matters.
Read the write-up, see what's going on. It's preseason.
I'll look at the stats. I can usually get what I need to.
I'm going to try and watch the Falcons games probably throughout the preseason, but I don't really pay attention to preseason football.
I pay attention to it in terms of who I think is going to make rosters and then fantasy value. And I know we said we're not going to talk about fantasy, but trying to make sure none of the guys I want are hurt.
That's pretty smart, yeah.
Other than that, I'm
because you don't want to pull what I did a few years ago and draft Jordy Nelson in the middle of August, and then he tears his ACL and he's out.
Or draft Le'Veon Bell with your number 1 pick, and then he's like, "I'm holding out."
Yeah,
and you're like, "Fuck me, thanks."
I remember that one.
All right, well, let's just jump into the NFC then, and then we can talk about the Broncos at the end.
Can you go back to the divisions real quick as you go through this?
So we're gonna start in the North again.
The North. Towards the hot gates.
So in the North, I have the Packers finishing first, the Vikings second, the Bears third, and the Lions fourth. Aaron Rodgers, that's all I'm going to say for that division. I love the guy. I like the Packers. Nothing bad against the Vikings, but I just don't see a team being better than those two teams.
So he's re-signed with Green Bay?
Excuse me. Yeah, and they amended his contract where he can leave after this year.
That's what I was going to ask. So I'm like, is it just a 1-year type thing? I didn't really... After this whole offseason saga of, is he leaving, is he not leaving, and it seemed like he was absolutely I'm not fucking playing for Green Bay this next year. And then all of a sudden it's okay, he signed. I'm like, all right, so
yeah, so they amended his contract to where he can, void it at the end of the year and become a free agent.
Which he may do, depending on what happens this year.
Right.
In fact,
probably
pretty high that he's going to do that.
Right. So I have that division going Packers, Vikings, Bears, Lions. Bears and Vikings could be interchangeable. I just think Vikings are going to rebound and they're going to be a better team.
Hey, who's the Lions quarterback now that Stafford's out of there?
Goff. Jared Goff. That was the swapped quarterbacks.
Oh, shit. Okay.
But they're the
So
Lions.
Stafford's with the Rams?
Yep.
Damn, that's going to be weird for me to get used to this year. Stafford's been in Detroit for a long time.
His whole career?
Yeah.
Well, until now.
I like Stafford.
I do too.
I'm a Stafford fan.
So now jumping into the East, I have... And the East is such a shit division, and I'm glad we play them as Broncos fans.
Yeah.
So
that division last year was brutally bad.
Right, and this is what went into my thinking for the rankings is none of those teams got better in free agency or the draft, in my opinion, to where they're set themselves apart. But I have the Washington football team winning that division, led by Fitzmagic himself.
I mean, entirely likely possibility.
And then I have the Cowboys in second, just because it's the Cowboys. You have no clue what's going to happen with them.
Who the fuck knows?
Followed by the Eagles and then the Giants. Again, you have no clue. This division, they could all literally end up being like 5-12, and one makes the playoffs.
They were all terrible last year. All of them
and
were terrible.
Like I said, I don't know if any big moves any of those teams made.
Who knows what's going to happen with that?
So, yeah, I got Washington, Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Giants.
Who's going to be the Eagles quarterback? Is it Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Who's an unproven quarterback.
Yeah. I'm rooting for him. I like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and they finally added a couple weapons around him, but again, they're young and they're unproven. So, like Jerry Jeudy, I thought he could come in and be like the rookie of the year last year. Dropped easy catches, and I'm like, dude, how are you going to be this, arguably the greatest route runner ever, but then you drop a ball? You catch the ball before you do anything else. So we'll see. Jumping into the South, though. So, Sam, I'm sorry. Please don't share this with your team. Or do, and, we can talk to them later. Buccaneers are the obvious choice at 1 because my second-place team in the Saints lost Drew Brees, my favorite quarterback of all time. I don't know how Winston or Hill are going to do with that team. So
Jameis Winston, trying to forecast what he's going to do is a crapshoot as well. So
just guarantee 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, 5,500 yards, and who knows what happens around that. But I go Buccaneers, Saints, Falcons, Panthers. The Falcons got better on offense. I don't know much about their defense. They added Kyle Pitts, who the dude's a freak. And then the Panthers, they got Sam Darnold, and Christian McCaffrey. But other than that, I don't really know anybody around them. So,
so the Panthers is where Sam Darnold ended up.
Yeah,
interesting.
That's where they landed him in a trade.
Okay.
And then jumping into the West,
real quickly, what do you think's going to happen with Sam Darnold now that he's out of New York? You think he's going to have a successful career at some point?
I think he'll start to show more potential.
Yeah.
I think the Jets are a terrible organization at the moment.
I was gonna say it was. I think he has the potential to be a solid, not like great, but a solid quarterback. But he just spent how many years with the Jets? And
too many.
It's just it's a hellhole for football. I mean, it's not.
It pains me to say this, but Mark Sanchez was successful with Rex Ryan as his coach in New York. That was the last time the Jets were good. So we'll see.
The butt fumble era.
Yep, and now they've got I think it's Luke Wilson is I believe his name from BYU, and I think he's a good quarterback, but another unproven. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But jumping into the West, this one's probably the hardest division in the NFC in my opinion. The Cardinals are an up and coming team. They're getting better every year. Players are wanting to play there. They got a lot of good talent now. But I think the addition of Matthew Stafford to the Rams, holy cow, puts them one step above everybody else. So
do you have them first?
I have. So this is, some people might be like, well, you're pretty dumb for this rankings, but this division's tough. So I have the Rams first, the Cardinals second, the 49ers third, and the Seahawks fourth. The Seahawks have DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson. That's it. Their defense has been depleted since their days as – what was their nickname, their defense?
The Legion of Boom.
The Legion of Boom. Gone.
Yeah, that's been gone.
I don't even know if they have one player remaining from that.
In fact, former Legion of Boom guy
Richard Sherman
had some interesting off-the-field issues very recently. We won't cover that, but
I don't think the Seahawks are in a position to succeed. I don't think they have enough around Russell Wilson on the offensive side to protect him, one.
Which is a shame because Russell Wilson literally has been playing at an MVP level the past couple seasons. Dude's been a fucking baller.
Last year, I think, started the season through 8 games with 23 touchdowns, and everyone's like, he's going to crush all these records, and then it just stopped.
It definitely slowed way down, but I benefited greatly from that because I had DK Metcalf last year.
And you had Tyler Lockett.
And I had Tyler Lockett.
So no matter who he threw the ball to, because those were the only 2 people on the team, you were successful.
I was benefiting.
The one time they both went for 100-yard games was against me. I remember that. Because they both popped off for 120 points each, and I'm sitting there going
good old fantasy,
hey,
man.
Julio, can you... Oh, Julio's got a O next to his name now.
You ready for that this year?
Hey, Derrick Henry.
You just ready for the
Derrick Henry just scored a 99-yard
constant frustration?
I'm building my draft strategy already.
Every year I say I should do a bunch of research and draft strategy, and then I don't, and then it always seems to work out okay. Of course, I probably just jinx myself.
Bro, it's impossible to do it because you set up the strategy like, okay, I have my quarterbacks listed.
Yeah, and then as soon as the draft starts, it all goes out the window.
And you're like, okay, I'm guaranteed a top 8, and then someone drafts 2 quarterbacks, and you're like, fuck, I don't get a pick for 16 more picks.
Yeah,
and then
totally
all the quarterbacks are gone. You're like, I got to go 9 and 10, but I didn't put 9 and 10 on here, so fuck. And then you draft them, and all the receivers are like, yeah, we have torn ACLs. And you're like, great, we have practice squad receivers with the greatest quarterback of all time. Great, thanks.
I think one other thing to add about the NFC West, I think, like you said, Stafford being on the Rams, I think, is a big thing for them.
Sean McVay is your head coach.
I was going to say,
what he did with Jared Goff?
They need to. This is a big year for the Rams, in my opinion, because they need to make a big push into the playoffs to basically reaffirm what we all thought they were going to be a couple years ago.
They are who we thought they were.
Right. Because they make it all the way to the Super Bowl, and then immediately
Super Bowl.
Immediately after that, it's like, what happened to the Rams? Like that. You don't see that a lot. Where it's like, if a team makes a Super Bowl, normally they're at least pretty solid and a playoff team the next year. But the Rams just really fell off, and that was what it was like 3 years ago they were in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Because wasn't that like?
Yeah,
the Rams only scored 3 points or something like that. I can't remember.
It was a really boring Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was kind of. It was like 10-3 or some shit at the end of the game. I don't know, but yeah, I think this is a big year for them.
13-3 in the Super Bowl.
13-3. That's right.
I think that was the other one where the Rams came in with like a high flying offense. I think that was the other one I was thinking about in terms of Super Bowls. I'll have to look the Super Bowls up though to confirm that. But yeah, I mean,
to see which ones have an asterisk.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I agree. It's kind of like the Broncos who won Super Bowl 50. Then again, we did lose Peyton Manning. They didn't lose a Peyton Manning type player.
That was the same. That was the thing. Is like their team seemed like they were largely this. And another one that you can think of is like, okay,
the Falcons.
The Broncos win the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning retires. Remember the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl, and then they paid Joe Flacco so much money that they couldn't afford to keep like literally anyone else on their team,
dude.
And like everyone it was just a total fire sale. Everyone just left the team, and then they went to being like terrible. But like Joe Flacco was making $1 billion a year.
Do you remember how at not at halftime, but the lights went out?
Yeah, the lights went out in like half
minutes.
the stadium. Yeah, and I remember that.
So
I was watching that in college
during one of my conspiracy theory like deep dives on YouTube at like 4:30 in the morning. I came across a conspiracy theory about that game.
Okay. Give me the Spark Notes version. What's the conspiracy theory?
Well, I mean, the 49ers were winning that game with Kaepernick.
That was with Colin Kaepernick, correct? Yeah.
It was like 23 or something to 7 at half. The 49ers looked like they were in complete control.
Yeah.
The lights go out. So nothing changes for either team besides you have to wait.
Yeah.
Ravens come out and just blank them. Like, I mean, I have all the Super Bowls up now. Let me find that score real quick. Ravens, 49ers, 34-31. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure let's see, if we click on, no, you can't click on the score. Son of a.
If you click on the Roman numerals, it might take you to the one.
Let's go 2012. Who was in it? San Francisco. Man, it's so easy to just go through this stuff. Thanks a lot, technology.
Internet's pretty cool. What year was that?
2012. So
that would have been our first year in college then.
Yep. So yeah, it was 7-3 Baltimore. Oh wait, maybe it was reverse. Huh? The 49ers came back and fell short. That's what it was. Because it was 28-6 at the start of the third quarter. Because Jacoby Jones had 108-yard kickoff return for a touchdown to make it 28-6, and then the Ravens almost fell apart.
So what was the conspiracy theory? That the lights went out because they wanted to give the 49ers a chance to come back?
Yeah, so like something happened, and yeah, it was weird. I don't.
That was very strange, and the lights were out for a long time. Like,
that's an extremely hard conspiracy theory to get into because it's a game. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of like betting conspiracy theories and how people think leagues are predetermined and.
Well,
I can't get into that because it really fucks with my mind in terms of how I would view sports, but it does make you think like
Yeah.
If all the athletes get behind this to make millions each on their sports bets, they could skew an entire league.
Yeah.
Then again, us as fans, I think, would have a, you could put a lawsuit out there, especially if you're a sports betting person. You could put a lawsuit, but
I
we
think
can get into that way later.
Yeah. Well,
TBD.
Just a real quick interjection on that. I don't think the NFL has really had a problem with this, but the NBA in like the 90s had a real issue with like 90s, early 2000s with like crooked refs. So it's a real thing. I mean, that's why those conspiracies, you can fan the flames because there's like actual evidence of refs, basically calling games in favor of certain teams to win bets. They were like paid off to do it basically. So, but that's the NBA. That's a whole other thing. I don't. And again, I don't think one ref can really affect the outcome of a football game as much as they can a basketball game, probably. But who knows? I mean, you can definitely still affect the outcome of a game, just maybe not like totally control the momentum like you can in basketball. You know what I mean?
Right. So I'm going to finish up the NFC before I jump into this because it's really interesting that I'm seeing this now because when I was younger, I didn't pay attention. So in the NFC, I'm going to have the Buccaneers finish first, the Rams finish second, the Packers finishing second, the Rams finishing third, Washington finishing fourth, the Cardinals finishing fifth, and the Vikings finishing sixth. So that would be the playoffs for the NFC. Now I'm going to say who I think the Super Bowl is going to be. I think it's going to be a rematch against the Chiefs and Bucks.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I think the MVP of the league is going to be Matthew Stafford.
Really?
Yep.
Whoa. Okay.
I think a Super Bowl sleeper for each conference, and maybe they're not sleepers, but I have the Bills for the AFC and the Packers for the NFC, which fair. I wouldn't mind seeing that. That would be kind of a cool. Maybe they could put the Super Bowl like up north somewhere where there's snow. That'd be pretty fun to watch.
That would be cool.
My want for the Super Bowl is the Broncos versus the Saints because those are my two favorite teams. Probably not going to happen.
I don't see the Saints being there. I mean, I don't really see the Broncos being there either, but the Broncos have a better shot probably.
Now, I went on a limb on this, but I think Von Miller's going to be Defensive Player of the Year.
Wow.
I think he's going to have the comeback year of the century, and I think our offense is going to do just enough to allow him to succeed on that high of a level.
Your MVP and your Defensive Player of the Year picks are real bold.
I like to be bold.
I mean, I like it. It's cool for the sake of the conversation.
But it's not like I'm picking some random dude.
If Stafford is the MVP, I'd be stoked about that. Like I said, I'm a big Stafford guy, and I will stick up for Stafford in any conversation because I have had him in fantasy multiple years in the past.
He does good.
Always good.
He's always so good. Consistent.
He's very consistent. He's just a gunslinger, dude. That guy fucking slings the ball.
And for my Offensive Player of the Year, I have Derrick Henry.
Okay. I could see that.
Which I was going to put him at MVP, but he could rack up 25,000 yards.
It's not going to go to a running back.
And they're going to be like, this quarterback had 40 touchdowns.
Yeah.
MVP. Congratulations.
Right. It's kind of like the Heisman Trophy. To win it outside of quarterback is really, really hard.
It's extremely rare.
And
unless you're an Alabama running back.
If you do, you're an Alabama running back.
Which we could talk about. We'll do a college football podcast sometime and just talk about. That'll be our bust one because a lot of Alabama running backs will make my bust.
Do you want to do that next? Since we're going, football season's coming up. We're doing an NFL podcast right now. Next week, let's do a college football ultimate Heisman Trophy bust conversation.
Yeah, I'm down.
Let's fucking do it, man. We've been talking about doing that for a long time, and I love talking college football. And going back through the Heisman Trophy winner history is very fascinating.
Yep, we're going to do that. All right, now I saw something interesting on here. So we're going to go back to the past 20 years worth of Super Bowls because that's when Tom Brady won his first in 2001. Or no, 2002, but it was a 2001 season.
Wasn't it during that? It was like between 01 and 04, they won 3 times or something.
Right.
Like
so here's what I'm going to say. So in 02, the Patriots beat the Rams 20-17. They beat the Kurt Warner-led Rams. 3-point win. The next year, it was the Buccaneers and the Raiders, 48-21, and that was the John Gruden-led team.
I was going to say, is that back when Gruden was still the coach?
Yep. Okay. I can't remember who their quarterback was then, though. And then the following year, in the 2003 season with the 2004 Super Bowl, the Patriots beat the Panthers 32-29 by 3 again. The following year, the Patriots beat the Eagles 24-21
All
by
of them 3-point
again.
victories.
Then it was the Steelers over the Seahawks.
Wasn't Adam Vinatieri very instrumental in winning a couple of those Super Bowls?
Over the Eagles, for sure, and the Rams.
I think he hit like last-second field goals to win a couple
over
of
the
those games,
Rams, I remember, and then the Eagles. I think those were the two.
That dude just fucking retired like a year or two ago.
Yeah, and he was like 57,000 years old. So.
All gray. Been playing for like 25 years.
He played with dinosaurs before this.
Yeah.
And then it was the
Colts. He played back when they had the leather helmets and no face masks.
And it was the Colts over the Bears, giving Peyton Manning his first Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. That was in 2007? Holy shit.
Yep. And then it was the Giants over the Patriots by 3.
By the way, shout out to now Hall of Famer Peyton Manning.
Dude, did you listen to his speech?
I saw a clip of it.
Fucking great. I loved it. And then the following year was the Steelers over the Cardinals by 4, which that was an epic Super Bowl. That was a fun one to watch.
I don't really remember that.
That was when I think it was a D lineman or outside linebacker got a pick 6 off of Kurt Warner again on the goal line and ran all the way down. It was Harrison. What was his name?
I'm really struggling to remember that one. I'm sure I watched it, but was that so? That was
that was the.
Was that Roethlisberger's first or no? The first one was over the Seahawks.
The first one was over the Seahawks.
Okay.
Yep. And then the following year was the Saints. Giving Drew Brees his first Super Bowl over the Colts.
Wasn't that right after Katrina? I think I remember that being like...
No, because I thought Katrina was like 2005.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. I seem to remember it being like a big deal for the city of New Orleans.
It was their first ever Super Bowl appearance.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. I thought it was like a big... like.
It might have been. I can't remember.
Overcoming the catastrophe.
All the events in the world. And then after that, it was the Packers beating the Steelers. And then after that, it was the Giants beating the Patriots again, this time by 4. And then it was the Ravens over the 49ers by 3.
The lights out game that we were just talking about.
And then in 2013, there wasn't the 2014 Super Bowl never happened. It was crazy. The year after that, the Patriots won. They beat the Seahawks by 4.
So that was
the
14 and 15 Seahawks were in back-to-back Super Bowls and only won one of them.
Yep. And they should have been 2-0. I don't know who they won their first one against, but
it was by a score of 43-8.
Yeah, it was a rough showing for that other team.
Whoever that other team is.
And then in 2015, the Broncos beat the Panthers 24-10.
What a great one to watch. That was a blast.
The first game I think in Super Bowl history where the winning team had less than 200 yards of total offense.
Yep. I remember sitting in, I don't know, I feel like I was for some reason in the airport flying maybe back to college or something right after the Super Bowl. And I remember listening to Mike and Mike's podcast, and I distinctly remember sitting in the airport listening to Mike Greenberg say it's the first time in Super Bowl history a team has ever won with less than 200 yards of offense. That is like one sports stat I will always remember. I don't know why, it's just like stuck in my head.
I tell people all the time, I go, the 2015 Denver Broncos defense is the greatest of all time. And people are like, no, they're not. And I go, they won a Super Bowl with less than 200 yards of offense.
Yeah.
On their own team.
Well, and that whole year, if you paid attention to Broncos football that year, because Peyton Manning had a really weird 4-year stretch here where he went from being like literally God's gift to quarterbacking, where he had like 9 million touchdowns in one season.
He went from a normal Peyton Manning year to arguably the greatest year of quarterback play in history.
Right, greatest single season stats.
And leading us to the Super Bowl on arguably the greatest offense ever established.
Right.
To
then being
a decent year, but flopped in the playoffs. And then
last year
looked
what
the fuck
bad.
happened?
Looked really bad. But then, oddly enough, that's the year we won the Super Bowl. So.
Because defense wins championships.
Yep.
They finally had a quarterback that was like, I just got to give my defense 5 minutes to rest.
Yeah.
We'll put up 20 points,
yeah.
and they'll let the other team put up 17, and we'll win the game.
Yep.
And then after that is when the Patriots
somehow
beat the Falcons. And then
wasn't that the first overtime ever in Super Bowl history? I think is that Falcons one.
Yep.
I think it was. I seem to remember them talking about that, which is kind of crazy that after all these years of having Super Bowls, that was the first one. But
yeah, we're going on Super Bowl. What is it? 57, 56, with one overtime. The following year, the Eagles finally get their first Super Bowl over the Patriots.
This is Brandon's favorite year of all time.
And then the Patriots beat the Rams in one of the most boring Super Bowls ever, 13-3.
You know what? I'm pretty sure that's the Super Bowl I got stuck at Wingstop for the entire first half. Do you remember that one? When I was trying to pick up wings.
Was it that one or was it the Falcons one? I thought it was the Falcons one.
Oh, you might be
right.
right.
I think it was either the Falcons one or was it the Eagles?
It was one of those 3 years.
Dude, it's so fucking hard because you have New England, New England, and it just gets fucking bullshit.
I am pretty sure it was the Rams one because I seem to remember sitting in the Wingstop having to watch it in the first half going, man, this is a really like low
And then I think you got
boring
to your
game.
parents' house and we were like, you missed nothing. And you're like, oh, really? And we're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, good.
I'll never fucking go to Wingstop before a Super Bowl ever again.
Yeah, terrible idea. And then the following year, which was the 2020 Super Bowl, so right before the world apparently blew up, the Chiefs got their second over the 49ers, in which was actually an extremely fun and entertaining game.
It was, yeah. That was.
I was rooting for the 49ers. Obviously, I'm a Broncos fan. Don't want the Chiefs to have success. And the 49ers were winning the game. They had that game, and then they just quit playing offense. So we got to go into a preventative offense.
Is that the season that those two teams met in the regular season and had like the highest scoring Monday Night Football game of all time? Or was it was the Chiefs and someone? Check. I can't remember. I thought it was the 49ers, but maybe I'm misremembering. But they had like the highest scoring Monday Night Football game of all time. And I remember it was like hyped up all week long. I remember talking to my coworkers about it at work, and they're like, 'cause normally I'll actually skip out on the Monday Night Football game unless the Broncos are playing. I get kind of footballed out over the weekend. But I was like, I'm watching all of this one because they're hyping it up so much. And sure enough, it was like 54-51 or some crazy shit. Like,
what year was that? 2020. Okay.
I want to say it was
2019.
The Niners, but I might be misremembering. It was definitely the Chiefs and someone.
Here we go.
I was going to say look for some 50-point Chiefs game, but there's a lot of those.
So they did not play them that year. So
maybe it was the year after.
It was the 2020 season. No, because that was.
Do you remember which game I'm talking about, though?
Yeah. They like shattered every record in the history of record books.
Maybe it's farther back than I thought it was, but. It's the Rams. 54-51.
Oh, yeah, that was when the Rams had their fucking...
What year did you find this?
2018.
Oh, so
that was the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl.
It was farther back than I thought it was then. Okay.
Oh, no, that was the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl.
Craziest fucking offensive game I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, it was like one team would score a 99-yard touchdown, you're like, oh, the game's over, and then the next team would score a 99-yard touchdown, you're like, okay, 3 seconds to come up the clock. What do we do?
Insanity. And the first half, you could tell even in the first half, you're like, well... I didn't think it was going to live up to the hype, but it sure is. Like, this is insane.
Dude, and it just kept going.
It just kept going.
They just kept scoring, and I was like, this is great. Great defense, yep.
Yeah, and I think literally the commentators, too, were like, wow. Like, if you like defensive football, this is not the game for you.
I think they even mentioned, that, like, this is college football.
Right.
Like, this is a college football game. And then we did Chiefs, and then last year we had... Excuse me.
I was very surprised by this last year.
Arguably one of the most boring Super Bowls, in my opinion, ever.
You
had the Buccaneers win 31-9.
I do remember that. It was
very boring. And the 40
boring.
points was just boring. Like, it just... There was just no competitive like feeling to the game. The Buccaneers came out, took the lead, and the Chiefs just didn't do anything. And it was just like, this is boring to watch. Like, nothing fun is happening.
I was pretty shocked, actually, at the outcome of that. So, the whole year, everyone is being like, you know, Tom Brady's going to take the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl. I'm like, not a fucking chance, dude. He just got done with the Patriots. Guy's won 6 Super Bowls. He's 110 years old.
And the Chiefs looked unstoppable.
Yeah, and the Chiefs looked amazing. I'm like, there's no way. I didn't even think he was going back to the Super Bowl. And then, sure enough, he makes it back to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, okay, he's made it to the Super Bowl somehow against all odds. There's no way they beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs look unreal. They're world beaters. And then, like you said, they just come out there and just kind of owned the game.
It just
the Chiefs
easy.
Never had a shot in that game. The Chiefs were never really in that game.
It just looked easy. Like, I could have walked on the field and tried to probably fucking score.
That really surprised me. That was one of the Super Bowls where I thought I knew what was going to happen going in, and it just was not what I was expecting.
I mean, you got to think the Chiefs last year were 14-2. They lost the last game of the season because it didn't matter, and they lost a game by 8 points to the Raiders earlier in the season. So it's like
14-2. Holy shit.
You know, this is professional football. Holy cow. You should never have a team be 14-2 in a professional league. You should never have a team go 70. Well, what were they? 73-9 in the NBA.
Yeah.
This is the highest level of these sports. How are teams this good against other teams that are at the same exact level? This isn't fucking Alabama walking into Gunnison to play Western. And some of these games make it seem like Alabama walks into fucking
The Chiefs are just that good, man. They're fucking really good.
Right, but it's like, where's all the other talent? Like, if you look at the Broncos team, you go, the Broncos, on paper, have just as good a talent, but we don't have a quarterback. So does a quarterback really make up 40 points in a difference in a single game? The answer lately has been yes. Mm-hmm. But it's like, how are no other teams able to compete? Like, it just doesn't – it logically doesn't make sense if you think about it, but at the same time, good coaching, the players meshing well and being in the right system – it all makes sense, but it doesn't make sense if you kind of understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, like you're saying there should be more parity in the league to where one team is not that dominant.
You should be seeing, like, if a team went 14-2, they should have been guaranteed the Super Bowl. You know, if a team went 8-8, that means, hey, you played 8 good teams that beat you, and you played 8 good teams that you beat out. Mm. You would think that most games should always be close in professional sports.
The NFL, more so than any other professional sport, seems to be like, that's what they say, any given Sunday. Like, anything can happen. You never really fucking know.
The Broncos could come out and beat the Chiefs, right, and then flop the rest of the season. They could go 1-16 this year.
Whereas,
like, the Chiefs.
if you have, I'm trying to think of a good example from the NBA. If you have, like, the LA Lakers or something from 2 years ago when they won the championship versus, like, Golden State from 2 years ago, who won like fucking 15 games. Like,
when their entire roster was
when those two teams match up in the regular season, okay, the Lakers are going to win this game. Like, you're
right.
You could bet pretty safely that the Lakers are going to win that game. The NFL, it's not really much like that. Although I've said this before, because this kind of contradicts what I've said before on the podcast, is it's definitely more predictable than college football.
Yes.
There are plenty of NFL matchups where you're going into it going, yep, I'm pretty sure the Chargers are going to win this game, or I'm pretty sure the Chiefs are going to win this game, or Buccaneers, or whoever. Whereas, like, college football, other than, like, Bama and, like, Clemson last couple years, you're like, I don't know. This could go either way.
I just want it to be a good game.
Yeah, that's
what I go to a lot of the games. I'm like, I just want it to be a good game.
I just want it to be exciting, and I want to be entertained, and you know what? Most of those games are.
I'm a CU fan, so, you know. But I'm, CU through and through. Never going to cheer for a different team in terms of, like, my favorite team. My favorite team will always be CU. I love Clemson because I love orange.
Me too. I love Clemson.
So CU and Clemson are like my two teams I always am following or watching their games. Clemson would go into a game and I'm like, all right, they won this. They score 7 points in like the first 2 minutes, and I'm like, they won it.
You can tell right off the bat.
CU does that in the same game, and I go, we have a 7-point lead we're about to blow. And then all of a sudden it's 7-7, and then it's 14-7, and 21-7, and it's like 21-14. I'm like, we got a chance. And then it's like 48-14, and I'm like, we tried. Let's get them next week. But CU's on the up. I will say that. They're on the up. So look out. Look out, Bama.
I'm so excited for college football.
Yeah, we'll save our college football until next week.
Okay.
But yeah, do you have any questions for me on the NFL season? You know, I went through all my rankings, my MVPs.
No, dude, I'll honestly say for the rankings, I am pretty much in line with you. I agree on all of those. I think that's probably going to be how they shake out, barring a couple of
I was going to say, if a quarterback here and there gets hurt, it could shake the whole thing up.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I think your pick for MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, very bold. I think the Matthew Stafford one probably has a better chance of turning out correct than the Von Miller one. Not that I'm like rooting against Von Miller or anything, but he's definitely a few years removed from his peak powers, I think. But he's still, one of the best defensive players in the year when healthy. So hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully him and Bradley Chubb are healthy this year. And then Broncos talk. This, like I said, pivotal year for Drew Lock.
Yep.
He needs to come out and really impress people, I think, or else he's not going to be sticking around that long. I don't think so. Because Denver fans are. I think the patience is running real thin around here. It's been like 4 or 5 seasons in a row now where we've been below 500. Bronco fans are not used to this, you know, and we got spoiled during the Peyton Manning era, and now we're kind of expecting that. And I think people aren't going to put up with this shit for too much longer before they start, there's like fucking riots in the streets calling for John Elway's head and stuff.
Well, and that's why he relinquished GM duties to George Payton, is because I think he realized what he was doing wasn't working.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I am a diehard Broncos fan. You know, if you can see the sign right here, it's Broncos parking only. You know, I got a Broncos flag in my closet. On Sundays, I wake up, the first thing I do is throw on my Von Miller jersey.
You're always.
I got a Broncos sticker on my truck.
Are you going to show up in Broncos shit on Saturday, by the way, to the lake? Even if
I'll
it's
show up in a
preseason?
T-shirt,
Okay.
not a jersey. I'm not taking a jersey.
You're always like.
I'll show up in a
You're very
T-shirt.
bright Broncos colors every time I see
I
you on
support my
Sunday.
team,
It's
and
like
I love them.
bright orange jersey. You got the hat on. You got everything going.
And being part of the Broncos fan base, every sports fan base is going to say they're one of the most loyal out there. Denver Broncos fans are arguably and statistically one of the most loyal fan bases there are. I applied for season tickets back in 2016. I am 10 years away from being eligible for those season tickets because there was a 15-year wait. We just won the Super Bowl, yes, but ever since Pat Bowlen, the late great Pat Bowlen, bought out the Broncos, they have sold out every single home game. Always a sellout. The Broncos have arguably the most loyal fan base out there, and it is a die-hard fan base because we didn't have the Rockies here. We didn't have the Avalanche here. It was the Broncos and the Nuggets.
the
Nuggets
they're the biggest.
suck.
Yeah, they're the biggest sports team in Denver, hands down.
So
Like in terms of popularity and attention paid and all that.
And if you think about it, Western Kansas, they air a lot of Bronco games there.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska, a lot of the Western and even central Nebraska gets Broncos.
That
All
is
of
true.
Wyoming, all of Utah.
We get a lot of like
New
Midwest
Mexico, even parts of
people are
Texas
just
show
kind of
Broncos
default.
games.
A lot of like you said, a lot of New Mexico people are actually kind of default Broncos fans.
Wyoming, the Dakotas, Montana, Idaho. Broncos games get broadcast. I think if you look at let me look at the square footage map because I think the Broncos have the largest area in terms of square foot for their fan base. So I
think we kind of luck out by benefiting from
being in the middle of nowhere,
being next to a bunch of states that don't have their own professional teams. Whereas, like in New York, you don't have that problem.
Whereas in New York, you have two teams.
New
that
York
use
has
the same exact,
like 2 or 3 teams in every fucking sport professionally.
all that share the same stadium.
Yeah, it's kind of insanity.
Yeah. So here, look. This is the map I'm talking about. I know you can't see it stream, but see the Broncos.
I see
we
what you're
have.
saying.
I mean,
It's
we're
like all
in
of the Midwest,
Kansas.
basically.
I mean, and it used to show stuff in Texas, but we have all of Utah. We have northern Nevada, eastern Idaho, almost all of Montana. The Dakotas. We're everywhere. And, like I said, no state around us until you go to like Arizona or Kansas has an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, I'm not saying we're the greatest fan base or the biggest fan base, but it's an extremely loyal fan base and it's an extremely hard team to get season tickets to. Which means I need to start saving my money because they're knowing my luck. They're going to be like, "Hey, we have season tickets. They're on the 50-yard line, club level." I'll be like, "How much are they a year?" And they're going to be like, $35,000. I'll be like, "Where do I sign?"
I'll figure out a way to pay. You guys have a payment plan I can do?
Hey, Luna, how much can I get for one of your kidneys? She's like, "I don't know." No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that to my dog.
I would sell one of your dog's kidneys. For
Yeah, you're right. Me too. Sorry, Luna. I'll donate my kidney to you, okay? How about that?
I'm excited, man. Football season's coming up. Well, we got our fantasy draft coming up here in like
next weekend, I believe.
Yeah,
next
it's like
Sunday.
Week
Although
from Sunday.
No one replied on any of that, and so I was just like, you know what? I'm just scheduling it. Or we said Sunday, and then people were like earlier, and then someone's like later, and I'm like, okay, I'm just doing it at 1:00.
I think 1 is fine. I'll be sure to reach out to Darian and let him know. I mean, I'm sure he got an email, but I'll text him too. But I'm excited, man.
I mean, I don't have anything left to say about the NFL.
We'll double
season.
down on our football talk, and next week let's do a college football discussion and an all-time Heisman bust.
We'll do a college football preview. Again, college football is really unpredictable, so it's hard to do a preview.
Yeah,
it's going to be more like
we could go over the preseason top 25, see what that looks like.
It's going to be more of a discussion of flops.
Yeah,
biggest flops. It doesn't even have to be Heisman. We can just say biggest flops
because those are fascinating. Because if you're a football fan and you watch college and pro, you see this happen all the time, where these guys are just like, college football all-stars and then come into the pros and just don't do anything.
Yep.
It's just pretty remarkable, actually.
But yeah, so everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with a double dose of football, with some college football this time. And until then, if you have anything to say about this, feel free to reach out to us on any of our socials or join our Twitch chat and talk with us live about this. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll be back with some college football next week.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been good to be back. Anytime we take a little break that goes longer than about a week, I get kind of itchy to come back and do it. So it's been good to be back. We've taken a little break from our brackets. We did our 1 year anniversary pod, and then now we're doing our football pods back to back. So we'll get you, any football fans out there, we'll get you primed for the football season, get you jacked up and ready to go. But not
fantasy football.
But not fantasy. And then, eventually we'll throw in a Disney movie bracket or some shit here in the
I think we're going to do a pick
future.
2. Maybe, obviously not next week, but probably the week after. And it'll be a pretty interesting one. So
yeah, we need to do a little, legwork on that one. That's why I was texting you.
I had, my 10 people picked out.
I didn't have shit. That's why I was like, I don't know.
I mean, we could discuss it pretty easily. You just think of any good action movies where there's sword fights, and you're just like, this dude would fuck people up.
Yeah. It'll be really fun to talk about because I think for anyone who's been listening since the beginning, first of all, thank you. But our Pick 2 Any 2 episode was a blast for us to do.
And it was one of our best episodes.
Yeah, picking those action movie heroes, to protect you. So we got a cool spin on that one coming up. We'll just get our character list set, and then, but next week, more football talk, some college football, and then we'll have more interesting topics coming up for you guys soon. And football fans, rejoice. Football season's almost here.
Football season is upon us. So, thanks,
all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Liddy.